everybody, this is Gail. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing great tonight. We're ready to have a great night. Stellarpiper should be joining us shortly, and I want to say hello to a couple of people who are already here in the chat. It's good to see you. We have Sakuna Swana Channel and Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man the Hero. Welcome tonight. I hope you all are having a good night and that life is going great. Let me see here. I'm just trying to double check here and see if Stellar is here. Not yet. Let me adjust that. So, anyhow, I hope that things are going well. Look, when we're joined by Stellar, she is going to be talking to us about her recent trip to Hawaii. So we're going to get to hear her tips and her thoughts on what she would do again and what she wouldn't do, and a lot of ins and outs about that travel. So she should be joining us shortly, and hopefully soon. I want to say hi to everyone here. Mariana, Peter, hello. We're going to be doing some shout outs here in a little bit too. What I'm going to do is later, when you look at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to be running a ticker across that, and that's going to have some of the shout outs in it. I just want to say thanks to everybody who has been so supportive of my channel, and these shout outs are just my way of doing that. So thank you all very much. So let's see, while we're waiting on her to come in, let me pull up my trivia questions. These are going to be on Hawaii, since that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. 50th state's a very expensive state to visit, as we all know from having heard the rumors. It's also still struggling with COVID right now. So that's a challenge. Let me see, pulling these up here. Okay. All right. Peter Parker is saying Happy Christmas, and we've got some others in. Busy Lady is in, so hi, Busy Lady. And let's see, we have Stellarpiper. So hello, Stellarpiper. So welcome. I was just pulling up some trivia questions about Hawaii here.
Okay.
So I thought you could tell us about your trip, and I will. Hang on, Fariana's checking if Busy got locked out. Oh, she had to make a new channel. She doesn't know why. Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, well, that's part of the whole system there sometimes, Unfortunately, we have little gremlins that like to live in the YouTube system. I think they're tribbles.
It wouldn't shock me. Fariana, we'll see you when you get back.
And yeah. Okay, Fariana, thank you. But I'm pretty sure they're tribbles, and unfortunately, there's not a ship available that they can beam them over to.
Yeah, they really hate Klingons.
So.
Sorry, I've just got to adjust. Oops. Okay, that should work.
Okay, get adjusted. I just realized that I left my Happy Mail in the other room, so I'm going to get that. And you can talk about how you chose going to Hawaii for your vacay. And I'll be right back. Just give me a second.
Well, we've been planning on a trip to Hawaii for like 3 years, I guess. John, my husband, had always wanted to go, and his parents had always wanted to go. So we decided to plan a trip to Hawaii. John was a travel agent in a previous life, so he did a lot of the planning. I just kind of showed up when he said to show up and was mostly on time, or at least earlier than his parents. Yeah, we went. We had a good time. We came back.
Okay. All right. So did you come back sunburned?
Only slightly. Only slightly sunburned.
We all told you, and Busy Lady told you too, make sure you take your sunscreen.
I did, and that's the reason I only came back slightly sunburned.
Okay. But we all fussed at you for that.
And I
yes, you can, Busy. Hang on. All right. You did use it?
I did.
If you used it, why did you come back with a sunburn?
Slight sunburn.
Did you maybe forget to use it sometimes? And for those of you who are watching and you don't know, Stellarpiper over here that I'm fussing about for her sunscreen is my daughter. So I get to fuss at her about this, and you all get to help. Especially Busy Lady, because she's good at that.
There was one day where I didn't wear any, but I thought it was going to be mostly an indoor thing, and it was not mostly an indoor thing. And that was the day we went to Pearl Harbor.
Oh. But you're still supposed to wear your sunscreen.
Oh, sorry.
You're welcome, Busy. Okay, now Candy the Wee Service Dog is saying that you need 50 plus sunscreen.
That's what we had.
Okay. But you know, Stellar, I'm going to let you in on a little hint. And I think the folks in the chat will back me up on this when I say that sunscreen only works when it's out of the bottle and on your skin.
Yeah. I know. And I regretted not wearing it to Pearl Harbor.
Well, good. So, hubby been wanting to go to Hawaii for a long time. And so that's what put it on your radar screen, of course.
Right.
So, what was the allure? Was it the tropical paradise, the weather? Because I know you've been more than once. So, as far as this trip,
the food was the allure, honestly, for me. The first time I went, I had some really good sushi and the best pineapple ever. So I may or may not have been telling John that while we were in Hawaii, we would have some pineapple and not give him any option.
You may or may not.
I may or may not have.
You did.
I may or may not. I could neither confirm nor deny.
That means she's guilty, y'all.
But yeah, we ate a lot of different foods, and it was some weird stuff, but surprisingly good. Okay. Like there was a purple potato salad that kind of weirded me out a little.
Ooh. So how did they fix that?
It tasted like normal potato salad, just purple.
Okay. When you say normal potato salad, are we talking about normal Southern potato salad with the mustard and the mayonnaise and the eggs?
It's more like a German potato salad.
Okay. So let's see. Refresh my memory on German potato salad because my mind is drawing a blank. Sorry about that.
It was okay. Well, the potato salad we had was potatoes with a little bit of onion and not a mustardy dressing, but more like almost a vinegary.
Okay.
I had like one potato because I was so weirded out by the color.
Gotcha. Busy Lady is asking me, well, first, let me back up. Peter says he would use 90,000 sunblocker.
Yeah, that's about right.
Busy Lady is asking me if I have one of those fancy Apple Watches on. And no, actually, I don't. You've heard of Fitbits, I'm sure, but but this is called a fake bit. That's my nickname for it, or faux bit. It's just one of those little cheapies. The way I break things and drop things, I just thought it wasn't a good idea for me to spend a lot of money on it. But I'll drop a link to that over in the Facebook group. Yeah, because I like it. I just didn't want to spend big bucks on it because Stellar can tell you that I'm not easy on things at all. All right, now Stellar, Candy is saying that you need to reapply sunscreen about every hour in direct sunlight, which I think parallels what I said.
Well, I was planning on not being in direct sunlight. Well, here's what happened.
Yeah, we do busy.
We go to Pearl Harbor. We get on the shuttle to the boat. We get on the boat to the USS Arizona, rather. We take lots of pictures. We pay our respects. We get on the shuttle back to the mainland. Well, mainland, as much mainland as you can get on an island. And we were going to take a bus to a museum.
Okay.
At Fort Hood, but the guy who was supposed to be loading us up on the bus was very apologetic, and all of the buses had been canceled last minute because of what they called a situation on Fort Hood.
Ooh.
And the guy said that it might have been an active shooter, but he couldn't say for sure. So we decided to scrap that, and we spent more time at the Arizona taking pictures of some of the outside displays, and we went through. I don't remember the name of the I don't remember the name of the museum, but it was all about military activity, naval activity through the Cold War and on up past the Arizona. It was like a legacy of the Arizona and going forward type thing.
That sounds interesting.
It was super interesting. But it was way more sunny than I'd planned on. I was not planning on hanging out taking pictures of outside displays.
But the World War II stuff is a lot of what's interesting about Alaska because it was occupied. I mean, and people forget that the U.S. was occupied during World War II, and so Alaska was occupied. So there's a lot of World War II history going on up there, and Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and some of the other places having to do with the Manhattan Project and the tests out in New Mexico. So a lot of neat stuff.
I meant to tell you and forgot that the maps at the museum actually showed that the activity off the coast of North Carolina and the Aleutians being taken over.
Oh, wow.
And that's something you see everywhere.
No. In fact, I argued a little bit with my history professor in college about whether or not we had German U-boats off the coast of North Carolina. And I'm like, yes, they were there. People from North Carolina talked about waving at the folks on the U-boats. And he was like, where did you find out? And I said, I read it on the internet. And he was like, oh, you can't believe everything you read about on the internet and checking sources and stuff. And then he was like, well, where did you get your source? And I said, the North Carolina Department of Tourism. And he was like, oh. So anyway, that's not got to do with Hawaii. That's part of the World War II history, of which you caught part of that. So neat. Now,
it really was.
You've got a question from Busy Lady. And that is, do you have a photo of the purple salad?
No, and I didn't think to get one.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, sorry. Just didn't think of it. I did have my camera by that point. I just didn't think about taking a picture of the salad.
Yeah. Now that is something else that she did was that affected, I'm sure, your documentation was the inability to keep up with your cell phone.
I had help losing it.
Oh, okay.
I had dropped it, and the people that took my seats, because I dropped it when I was changing seats, the people that moved into my seat gave it to the flight attendant on the plane, who thought it was from the previous flight. And in an attempt to be helpful, he gave it to the gate agent in Dallas. Now, a little while later, I realized my phone was missing, but before we got off the plane. And I asked the flight attendant if anybody had turned one in, and his face just paled. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And I knew then I was in a little bit of trouble.
But they tried.
They tried, and the people at the resort were very nice and very helpful in helping me get like mailing addresses so we could get it back. And still, not something I'd recommend.
Gotcha. So, walk me through the trip. Obviously, you've been there before, so you had an idea of what to see and what not to see. So, just kind of walk me through from like booking, who had the cheapest air tickets to Hawaii, and how did you find those? Was it like a hot wire deal or something like that, or?
Honestly, John did all of that, and I just showed up when he
Hi,
told me.
Valerie. Okay, so hubby did all that. Do you know if he sent like an alert?
Knowing him, probably.
Okay.
I know there were also some points involved for a timeshare that his parents have, but I'm not quite sure exactly how all that broke down.
Okay, so you partly tapped into, your hubby did the airline tickets for you, and you partially tapped into the points that your parents or in-laws had rather for the timeshares. Did you like let's talk about timeshares for just a minute. Because you can compare that between your trip now versus when you went there a few years ago because you stayed in a hotel, right?
Yes.
Okay. Of the two, which did you like better? And were the amenities similar?
The hotel I stayed in last time I went was pretty no frills. It was a place to sleep and shower, and that was perfect for what we needed. This one was a lot nicer. We actually stayed in two. We stayed in one on Maui and one in Oahu.
Okay.
And the one on Maui was the nicest. It had pools and restaurants on site, which came in handy, and bell people to help us with the luggage, which also came in super handy. And they were just generally really good about making sure we had everything we needed and were taken care of. That is the place where I scratched the rental car. So
you scratched the rental car? Okay, yeah. I want to know about that in just a minute, how that was handled. But okay.
Yeah. Whoops. But on the whole, the resort was something I would recommend doing. Okay. Especially if you don't want to eat all of your meals out. Because in the hotel I stayed in last time I went, there was no, I don't even remember there being a microwave in the room.
Oh, that's different. Because here on the mainland, most of the hotels have the micro fridge combinations with the microwave and the refrigerator.
Yeah. I mean, we may have had one and I just don't remember it, but we definitely didn't use it. But having a kitchen in the resort helped us be able to not eat everything out. So we had breakfast in the room and saved a little money that way. Snacks and bottled water we could keep cold. It just made life a lot easier.
So, Therian is asking if that makes the tickets cheaper the way you all booked them. did that make the tickets cost less? But it sounds like you don't know since hubby did it.
I don't. I'm sorry.
I will
ask him and Facebook you.
I will say that sometimes, as far as tickets, you do. It was interesting. I'm going to base this on booking for Alaska, and that is, we talked to a travel agent, and the travel agent was coming up with tickets of like $870. So we did some more looking, and we actually booked a little closer instead of booking about 4 to 6 months out. We booked a little closer to the trip and got a much better deal for like $680. And we found that we found one price for like 700 and something online, like 730, I think it was, and contacted the travel agent and we're like, hey, now the price has really dropped and this is what we want. And the travel agent was like, I'm going to do you a little better. So you never know with airline tickets. And then we had one person who didn't reserve like everybody else did, and they set an alert and they got one for $3 or $4 off of what we did. But hey, $3 or $4, that's an hour parking in a lot of places. I don't know. How was Hawaii for that?
Not terrible. We went to one restaurant that was like $20 to park, but that was valet. Yeah, I don't recall parking being very expensive at all.
Of course, $20 is still pretty high to folks here. I mean, it would be high to me.
But it was valet, so.
That's true. And you got a tip because that's what they rely on. It's kind of like servers.
I was not going to. Okay, the restaurant we were looking for was actually in the Ferrari dealership. And who looks for a restaurant in a Ferrari dealership?
Wow. Okay, that kind of like just blew my mind. How about you all? Did that kind of blow y'all's mind? That the restaurant would be in the Ferrari diff.
But it was such a pain to find. By the time we actually found the restaurant, we were like, no, we're not even going to try to park it. And we just paid whatever the valet wanted.
Wow. I just can't. I'm sorry. Just the idea of eating inside a Ferrari dealership. So you got to see all the cars or no?
We mostly stayed clear of them because I didn't want to have to clean drool off any of them.
Aw.
But there was a lovely little Ferrari.
I love them.
I do too, and that's why I stayed away.
They're comfortable.
It was also it was Ferrari and a couple other Italian cars, Bugatti, I think, and
well, I'll just tell you that
Maserati.
We Italians like our cars low, fast, and sexy.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It does. Fariana says it sounds crazy to her that the restaurant was in a sports car lot. Yeah, I'm with her.
Yeah, it was strange. The whole dealership it wasn't a traditional car dealership that you go and there's this massive lot and everything's parked. It was more like just the showroom, but it was like 2 levels tall.
Wow.
And the restaurant was on the 2nd level.
It almost sounds worth going to Hawaii just to see the restaurant in the dealership and see a 2-story dealership.
It's not too far from Waikiki Beach, so I recommend it.
Okay. All right. So we talked about the tickets and your comparison of the hotel versus the timeshare. You mentioned Waikiki Beach. So tell me about the places that you went in general. Did you ever get off the beaten path from the hot tourist spots? And Fariana is saying that Bugatti is made by Volkswagen.
Okay, maybe I was wrong on Bugatti, but it was something that ended in a vowel.
Ooh, Valerie saw a nice looking Viper on I-81 last week. That would be cool.
Nice. We actually did not go to Waikiki Beach this time. I went last time, and I was quite okay with skipping it this time. We did go off the beaten path, sort of. We took a tour to, it was called a Road to Hana tour, and we were off the beaten path so much that the roads were one lane and dirt.
Okay, and it's what again?
Road to Hana tour.
Road to Hana.
Hana. Hana.
Okay, so I'm looking that up online so to see what it is.
Yeah, I was very glad I was not driving because oh man, the roads got down to one lane, dirt with rocky cliff on one side and ocean on the other.
That would still be kind of cool, though. I mean, driving right next to the ocean like that.
It was very cool. I was just glad it wasn't me doing it.
Gotcha. At least I can see that. Because you've never been great about things like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I did drive up the volcano, though.
Oh, that would be... Which volcano? And was it hard to drive up? Was it narrow? Say more about that.
It was Haleakala National Park. We drove... It's one of those situations where you go to the visitor center and then keep going.
Okay.
The visitor center was closed due to COVID, so we couldn't stop in the visitor center for anything other than a bathroom.
Now, you were just there about 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that they were still having some issues with COVID.
Yeah.
So were they still under a partial lockdown?
I think the lockdown was mostly lifted. There were some capacity restrictions and, of course, mask mandates.
Ah, okay. So mask mandates. Okay, good night, Peter. Thanks for coming in.
Night, Peter.
So mask mandates are still in effect.
And they had a pretty stringent testing requirement to get onto the island. But once you were on, it was pretty chill. Other than masks and gloves being required at the luau for the buffet. Pretty relaxed.
Okay. Say more about the process there in just a minute. Fariana says, did you do the whole 9-hour round trip of the road to Hana?
Yes, and it was worth it. I highly suggest it.
Okay.
Totally suggest it.
Were you exhausted?
Yes.
By the time you got it done? Okay. So on the trip, tell me about the road to Hana. What is that like? You said you were driving along the coast and of the ocean. So it was 9 hours. What did you see on the way? And I'm doing some shout outs down below. Go ahead.
Hana is if Hawaii had counties, Hana would be its own county.
Okay.
It's a particular section of Maui. And the road there and back, we went through 5 different microclimates. We went from just the coastal, beachy sort of vibe to a tropical rainforest, back out through some desert. And it was just this mind-boggling experience. Okay, so the desert part was near the end.
Okay.
And it looked not exactly. It looked very similar to New Mexico, with the barren earth that you can see is differently colored because of the volcanic ash in it. You could still see the tracks from lava flows. But just a couple hours before then, we were in this lush forest that reminded me of the Smokies, except denser and not even warmer, because the weather was actually really nice while we were there.
Okay. Now, I just looked up the definition of microclimate to be totally accurate about it. And it says the climate of a very small or restricted area, especially when this differs from the climate of the surrounding area.
Yeah,
So,
right.
there you go. So, that would be for like a lot of people who have been to like Northeast Tennessee. An example of that might be the rainforest in the Smoky Mountains, Pisgah National Forest, Cherokee National Forest. There's actually a rainforest there that you can drive into. And then, like up on Roan Mountain, that's in the Canadian Temperate Zone, which is much different than what's lower down. And Glacier National Park formed its own air dam. So that's another example of a microclimate. So I know that some of the folks here may have been to those places. What was it
Yeah.
like driving through all the microclimates? Did you get to stay around and stare and gawk and really take it all in?
We stopped a lot so we could stare and gawk and kind of take it all in. We stopped for a snack at this roadside shack called
Okay.
called Auntie Sandy's Banana Bread, and it really was just a shack with some picnic tables in front.
Well, neat though.
And I would have absolutely kept on driving if it was up to me. But we stopped, and the banana bread was actually really good.
Okay.
The one thing I didn't see a lot there was wildlife other than birds.
Really?
There's not any like big snakes or lizards or much of anything there other than birds.
No bears or wolves or coyotes?
Nope, none of that.
Really? See, I thought they were everywhere.
Apparently not.
Did you
Apparently,
all think that? Yeah, everybody in the chat, did you think that there would be more limited wildlife? Because I just have this picture. Like if they're on the islands of Alaska, on the islands where nothing else gets there, I just expected that Hawaii would have the bears and the coyotes too. But no.
there were mongooses, but those were imported to control the population of something else.
Okay.
Rats, I think.
So they were imported. Hi Iron Fire, welcome. Irene,
There
it's
were
good to see you.
there were a lot of birds. A lot of birds.
Okay. All right. And Fairyana's saying that they do snorkeling and whale watching and that she understands that the road to Hana has some waterfalls.
Yes.
So tell me about the waterfalls.
We saw a bunch. Our driver he'd been doing this a while. So we'd get to a waterfall and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, there's a waterfall up that way, but we're not gonna pause here too long because there's a better one up ahead."
Oh, okay. So it's kind of stop and go as far as waterfalls?
It's not, yes, because a lot of them were right next to the road, and the road was not conducive to pulling off. But there were a lot of them, and a lot of them were gorgeous. And we did stop at one. I think John has pictures of it because I was phoneless at that point.
Okay. And we can put some pictures in the Facebook group in a little while. I'm also going to type in that URL. So all right. What was your favorite waterfall? Do you have a favorite?
I don't think I do. They were all really nice.
Okay.
The one we stopped at might be my favorite because we actually got to climb up it a little.
Okay. Do you remember the name of it?
Not a clue. I can look it up later, but I have no idea.
Okay. So tell me about the cost of the tour. How was that compared to other tours that you've been on?
It was one of the less expensive tour options for us.
Okay.
But it did include breakfast and lunch.
Oh, that's nice. Because that counts too. So were the meals a lot higher there than over here in the 48?
Yeah, meals were higher. Groceries were higher. A gallon of milk cost a little over $5.
Wow.
And bread was like $3.
Wow.
And I forget how much eggs were, but they were crazy high as well. Gas was running around $3 a gallon, if I remember right.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
It wasn't awful. Not gas, anyway. But on the whole, yes, everything was expensive.
So, what about the rental cars? Because nationwide, there's this huge problem getting rental cars right now. And that's because during COVID, a lot of the rental car companies cut their fleets dramatically to try to stay afloat. And so now they're just starting to revamp and get more cars in. And there is this surge of people who are trying to go places and rent. So, how was it? Did you guys have problems with that?
A little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little. We were there right before the big surge of summer travel. So we were able to find rental cars, but it was expensive. And we
Rental
weren't
cars
able
can be outrageous.
and we weren't able to find cars in the classes that we need.
Okay.
For Maui, we wanted a like a compact SUV, like a Nissan Rogue, that kind of thing. But they didn't have any, so we had to size up.
Okay.
Which actually worked out really well.
So did they comp going up a notch? Because sometimes they will if they don't have the car available and you have to bump up. Did they do that, or did you have a fee?
Yeah. No, they comped the size up.
Which rental car company did you use?
National?
Okay.
I think we used National. It's whatever John got a discount through for.
So would you do that again? That company? Were you pleased with this car and the service?
Yeah, I was very pleased with the car, very pleased with the service. Although I didn't get to interact much with the service because they were only allowing the primary driver to come in and actually sign the paperwork and all that jazz. So I handed John my license and told him to go do it for me.
Okay.
Because his name was on the reservation.
Okay, so you were like a second driver.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about denting the rental car. How that happened and how the company handled that.
Okay, so the parking garage at the resort, you come down the entrance ramp, make a sharp turn, and then go into the parking. Now at the curve, there's a wall on one side and a pillar on the other. And if you don't thread that needle exactly right, you're gonna hit one or the other. And okay. I screwed up.
So you're the one that did it.
Yeah, my fault. Totally my fault.
In the parking garage. Couldn't you have come up with like a better story that like maybe you were running from space aliens or something?
If I'd thought of that.
Not to tell the car company, but to tell everybody at home.
If I'd thought of that. No, it's just because I can't park.
Okay. You'll have to take parking lessons.
They didn't cover that in driving school.
Really?
Really. The only time we spent on parking was my last day, and he talked me through parking once as I was doing it, and then was like, okay, here's your certificate.
Well, I know your mama covered parking.
Yeah, and so did Tim and Kyle, but I still can't do it worth anything.
Okay. All right. So that's your disclaimer.
Yeah. Don't let me park.
Okay. But so what happened when you told the rental car company? Because I've always wondered about this when I rent a car.
We had the damage waiver, so the rental company was pretty chill about it. And then we told the insurance, and the insurance and the rental company duked it out.
Okay. So you had to tell your private insurance?
Yes.
Or the rental car company insurance? Private. Okay.
It was ours. So, okay. Yeah. But in the end, we didn't have to pay.
That's nice.
But
that's nice.
Never heard the end of it if we'd had to pay anything.
I can just imagine you going into the rental car company going, please don't kill me.
John did that. He turned in the rental car because his name was on the reservation. But it was very much a situation of,
forgot about that.
John, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me.
Okay. All right. I can just imagine what that would have been like. How about you all?
Not as bad as I thought.
Not you all. I think it would be bad enough to tell my husband I dented the car just around here, and but a rental car. Fariana says you saw that sharp turn and said challenge accepted.
No, I saw that sharp turn and was like, oh, expletive.
Okay, we are a family channel, and YouTube Big Brother is watching. Fariana said you were driving with your eyes closed. And Iron Firehorse says she is an excellent driver. A busy lady suggesting you get one of those cars with a rear view camera.
A rear view camera is on my list of must-haves for whatever car I get.
Okay. She says, Fariana says she's got one, but it's always covered with dirt or bugs. And I agree. I'm glad busy lady is also saying that she was glad it was not a huge hassle. So that is good. So you would... Fariana says you walked into the rental car place and says, look, I park like an American. Probably want to add from the mainland. And busy lady says not killing you was in the vows.
No, I don't think it was. Promise to love, honor, and cherish, but not murder was not in there.
I think it was implied. So anyway, so you were able to, deal with the rental car agency without a lot of stress and hassle, it sounds like, which is good. So, and I'm guessing that you would suggest renting a car for Hawaii, because I know some people don't. They rely on public transportation.
You definitely need one if you're going to Maui. Everything's just too far apart. It's like all the towns are like 20, 30 minutes apart by car.
So when you say towns, what towns are you talking about?
Like
major cities, smaller burgs?
There weren't a lot of major cities. It was smaller burgs. But from the airport to the resort was an hour and a half drive. The nearest grocery store was 10 to 15 minutes by car.
Okay, wow. So that's not just that the towns are spread out, but everything in the town, it sounds like, was spread out.
Well, the nearest grocery store was in the next town over. And there were some strip malls, but everything was a little bit sprawly.
Okay. So like urban sprawl on steroids kind of thing? Or more tourist sprawl?
Some tourist sprawl, but then with large amounts of empty space, and then another town, and then a volcano, and then another town.
Oh, wow. Okay. So tourist, non-tourist, tourist, non-tourist, kind of like that?
It's like going from Anchorage to Willow.
Okay, but a lot of people have never been from Anchorage to Willow. Terrible analogy.
I know, but it's the best one I could come up with.
Okay. But that is kind of, commercial residential and then touristy and then commercial residential and then a distance
Yes.
and then kind of commercial and touristy kind of together.
Yes. Yes, that's what it was like. Thank you for translating.
Okay. So a lot about, like Alaska, Glacier National Park, the Grand Canyon, etc. It's the vast expanse of uninterrupted vistas that call people. And it sounds like that's kind of the same for Hawaii. Mm-hmm. What would you say was your favorite vista? And you can't say all of them.
The view from the top of Haleakala was really fantastic. Haleakala
was that a mountain?
Extinct volcano.
Ooh.
And I did drive up to that one, and it was curvy and switchbacky, and we went up to 16,000 feet to get to the top of the mountain, and it was just us at the top and the observatory, which was actually below us.
So you were higher up than the observatory?
We were at the limit that humans can go to without oxygen.
Oh wow!
My lungs were not happy with me.
So you have asthma. Did that bother your lungs or?
Yeah, my lungs were quite displeased with me. Once we got walking around was awful. I still recommend it.
Why was it awful? Was because of the oxygen? Your lungs? Tell me more about that.
I'm getting there. The air was so thin, it was just hard to breathe. And then my asthma is exercise-induced anyway, so it was even harder for me to breathe. So we took it slow. And we didn't go on any of the, extra hiking trails that it was like a nature trail that went off and up a little bit more, but we didn't do that.
Okay.
Would I do it again? Absolutely. I would do it again in a heartbeat, as long as I had my Heather with me.
Okay. So I'm just looking real quick. It looks like the tallest mountain outside of Alaska is in Colorado, Mount Elbert at 14,440 feet. And then out of Colorado, it's Washington State, Mount Rainier at 14,414. So you were even a lot higher than the tallest peaks here in the contiguous 48.
It was definitely tall.
And you would do it again?
And I would do it again. Driving up, we were driving. It was a really clear day when we were driving up. But on the way back down, of course, it was cooling, and the fog was starting to condense, and we had to drive through the clouds to get down the mountain.
Oh, you had to drive. That would be so cool to drive through the clouds.
It was epic. It was like driving through dense fog, but it was epic.
So you're driving through dense fog. Oh, thank you very much, Candy, the Wee Service Dog. Thank you for the super sticker of $2. Thank you very much. Yay! That all goes to Service Doggy. Which, by the way, we are at $2,849.63. Don't ask me how the 63 cents got in there, but that's where we are. Probably from Pampered Chef. But anyway. So, and Fairy Ann is saying that Stellar could find her niche in making videos like that. So, yeah. And let's see. Yes, Busy Lady said that their names are going across the screen, and that is yes. I'm going to be doing that a few times during the live stream because I want to give you those shout outs and say thank you, and I hope lots of other people see your channel names. and come check you out. And if not lots, at least some. So, if Ariana wants to see a volcano up close, I have to admit I'm a little jealous that you got to go to one and walk on it and drive on it.
It was neat.
What was that like? Just knowing that you were on something like super ancient like that.
Well, not as ancient. The weird part was driving on something that was so new. Because
really,
if you want ancient, go to the Smokies.
So how new is this volcano?
Geologically speaking, not very. I'm not completely certain of the exact numbers, but all of the land was formed by volcanic eruptions.
Right. I knew that because Kilauea is continuing to erupt.
Yeah, seeing a volcanic eruption is on my bucket list. But that'll be next trip. But
that would be so cool.
It was cool. It was weird, but it was cool. It was just like driving up a mountain in the Smokies, though, as far as driving goes, except steeper and more switchbacky.
Okay. So would it compare to like US 129 or no? Sounds like it'll it's not as high, it sounds like. I mean, the 129 wouldn't be the highest peak. Obviously, is not going to be like what you drove on.
It reminded me a lot of the Sun Road.
Okay, so Sun Road being Glacier National Park, which is a crazy road, steep drop-offs, gorgeous. Just there is on Sun Road at Glacier National Park, you have a guardrail, and it's made out of stone, but it's short. Did you have a guardrail where you were driving? Because those not having one terrifies me.
Me? I honestly don't remember if there was one or not.
Okay. So if there wasn't, it must not have bothered you, at least. And you were being asked by Candy if you went to the beach.
Not as much as I wanted. We spent like an afternoon on the beach in Maui, but the in-laws were not happy because we all, except John, I think, wanted more beach time.
Aww.
I had told John that. Okay, when we were making a list of places that we wanted to see in Maui and Oahu, I had added to the list like 10 different what Maui calls wayside parks, which is basically a spot wide enough to park alongside the road and go to the beach. Because the beach was right there. Did we stop? No.
Aww. Okay. And Fairy Ann is asking if you saw the fire spinner people. She's stuck on how awesome and authentic luau would be.
We did go to an authentic luau. We went to the one at the Polynesian Cultural Center, and yes, there were spinning fire people. And yes, it was amazing. And that is where the potato salad was.
Okay. All right. So, and I know you went to the cultural center, the Polynesian Cultural Center. Say more about that. What you saw, what it was like.
It was laid out like you had a path to follow, and each path took you through different Polynesian cultures. You had Samoa and the Maori people on New Zealand, and Tahiti and Fiji, and just all of the Polynesian cultures had their own little land. We weren't pressed for time, so we didn't get to go to all of them. But the ones we saw were really interesting. The New Zealanders had a really neat, not quite hula, but almost dance. and they demonstrated a game that's important in their culture. And I'm so not coordinated enough to do either of those. So they have my respect.
So tell me about how it is for someone who's got disabilities to go to Hawaii, because some places are more disability friendly than others. Candy, thank you also again for the super chats. $1.49. It all helps. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. So
the Polynesian Cultural Center was pretty accessible.
Thank you, Marianne. I was about to post that. So the Polynesian Cultural Center was exciting.
It was accessible.
Accessible, sorry, and exciting.
Yes, both of those. A lot of the places we toured were not great about accessibility. Especially for people in a wheelchair.
Okay.
The Road to Hana tour was not. If you have mobility challenges and have difficulty walking on rough ground, you're going to have problems on the tour.
Okay. Did they have alternatives like sidewalks spread out throughout the tour at all, or was it mostly uneven?
Mostly uneven.
Okay.
There were some sidewalks, but not many.
Okay.
Not really many at all. We stopped at the Iolani Palace in Oahu, and that was not accessible. Really.
It was not. Okay.
It was not. They did have an elevator, but it was one of those kind of off in the corner elevators. A lot of the museums were.
Hunt down. That wouldn't be good, having to hunt down accessibility.
Well, it was. Yeah, no. It was. That particular stuff was not good. The Bishop Museum, which is another spot I seriously recommend, it would have been doable for somebody in a wheelchair, but not. You wouldn't have gotten the full experience. Okay. But that's just because there were some displays at eye level, and there was like a railing around a central rotunda, and there were exhibits everywhere.
Really?
It was information overload. But if you're sitting in a wheelchair, you can't necessarily see everything.
Okay.
Especially if somebody's standing up. That is true. It did have a pretty easy to find elevator, however.
Oh, that's nice. Now, because I will say, it's a little frustrating when you need an elevator and you have to go all the way across the world and you have to really hunt it down. It's a little frustrating.
And the Polynesian Cultural Center was mostly open, so most of the museums, I would even go so far as to say most anything modern you'd be okay in. But anything built before accessibility was really important, you're going to have issues. But that's true most anywhere.
It is, and it's a little harder in some of the historic buildings, which I'm sure you were in several historic buildings, but a lot of them have designed ramps and they have elevators and things like that to kind of make up for the difficulties a little bit. Thank you very much, Busy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Busy has helped us out with the service dog, and
thanks,
I
Busy.
appreciate that. And Feriana says that's good. They had some accommodations for people there, and that's wonderful, because it's not that those of us who have mobility issues, it's not that we're looking for special treatment. We just want to enjoy and do things like everybody else, to the extent that is possible. I mean, obviously we have the limitations, but now, Stellar, you have epilepsy. did you run into a lot of places that had epilepsy problems, or did you specifically steer away? I mean, obviously you're going to steer away from them if you know about it, but did you run into lots of places where that was an issue?
Nope. I had
Good.
no problems. We did do. There was a IMAX show at the aquarium that we did, which can be a trigger for some people. But I had no problems, even with like scenes with the sunlight flickering through the water. No problems there.
Okay.
No problems at any of the museums. No problems at the palace. No problems with the fire spinner people. Yeah. There was a part in in a stage show that we saw that had a lightning storm, but it was very short.
Okay, so tell me about the fire spinning people.
I'm sure they have a name. I don't know what they're called.
Indoor? Was that an indoor or outdoor event? Was it daytime or nighttime? Because something like that sometimes triggers me. Everybody's epilepsy is a little different. There are some similarities, but something like that would trigger me, for example. But yeah, tell me about that for you.
After the luau, still at the Polynesian Cultural Center, we saw a play called Ha, Breath of Life. And it followed a character as he traveled across Polynesia. And every culture had a moment. By the time we got to the part with the fire dancers, it was completely dark. Except for some minimal stage light. But
okay,
it needed to be dark so you could see the flames.
That makes sense.
But even with it being as dark as it was, no problems.
But I know I've been to some things like at Walt Disney World, for example, and some of the stuff like that was during the daytime, and like I could do that. So cool. Well, that's very good to know. What where would you go again? Like if you knew you were going tomorrow, what is the first thing that you would do all over again?
The pineapple tour.
Oh, we haven't even talked about that. So spill the tea, honey. Tell me about the pineapple tour.
All right, the pineapple tour is there's a particular kind of pineapple grown on Maui, and it's a Maui Gold pineapple. We almost toured the Dole Plantation, but the Maui Gold one sounded more fun. So we got to see all sorry. We got to see all the stages of pineapple from plant to harvest, and they fed us pineapple.
Oh, neat.
It was a bus tour, so we're on this bus out in this pineapple field, and he just reaches over, whacks a pineapple off the plant, and slices it up for us right there.
Okay, so it's a bus tour. Now, did you have to sign up for like a Gray Line bus tour, or was this something arranged specifically through the pineapple? Is it a farm or a plant, or what do they call that?
Maui Gold Pineapple Tours, I think it was called.
Okay, but is it called a farm or a plantation, or?
I think they called it a farm. They might have called it a plantation, but I think they called it a farm. But the neat thing about it was they have the same lady tasting their pineapples for quality and testing the pineapples to see if they're ready to be harvested.
Oh, okay.
Apparently she does it by taste, and apparently she's like 90.
Oh, gosh. Well, we can assume that she's good at her job then.
I think so.
And Valerie is saying, yum, fresh pineapple.
Yeah, they don't get much fresher than that.
Fresh pineapple has a different flavor.
It does. It was very sweet.
Several years ago, somebody, I guess bunch of years ago now. I knew somebody in the military that was going over there for some kind of, I don't know, exercises or something. He really didn't elaborate too much, but he got to bring back a couple of cases of pineapple and he shared them. And that was like the best pineapple. Of course, I'm a pineapple fiend, okay? But that was like the best pineapple I have ever had.
And they gave us each a couple pineapples to take home. So for me and John and his parents, we had 6 pineapples to eat.
Okay.
We had pineapple every day.
All right. You can always make hummingbird cake.
If I thought of it, I would have.
Like the most delicious cake ever. Okay. Anyhow, speaking of cake, let's talk about their foods. And I understand that Spam is a very big deal.
It's a thing. It's a big thing. Yeah, I tried Spam sushi and it was surprisingly good. It's still
Spam
salty.
sushi?
Yeah, it looked like they took the can of Spam, sliced it, fried the slices, and then slapped it on some rice and wrapped some seaweed around it.
Okay. I'm not sure I would want to do Spam sushi.
Another thing that was
I've only ever heard of sushi as fish.
We did have some really good not Spam sushi, fish sushi.
Okay.
John and I got a local sashimi appetizer one day because we decided our big meal should be sushi since we're in Hawaii.
Sure.
And it was just melt in your mouth, delicious. Caught local.
Okay.
And melted in your mouth. And then John got a butterfish entree, which I didn't know was a thing. And I got a poke bowl because they're also a thing over there.
Okay.
But his entree was just mind-blowingly delicious.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they fix it?
I have no idea. It was cooked in some sort of.
Was it oil, fried?
Braised.
Okay.
But that doesn't make any sense. So probably baked, but it was still really moist. And it had a dark sauce on it. And it came with asparagus, but the asparagus was the only disappointing part of the meal.
Really?
All the entrees were delicious.
What happened that made asparagus disappointing?
It was just an afterthought, and you could tell. It was like, oh, let's serve this amazing fish. Oh, yeah, I need something to go with it. Let's whip up some asparagus.
Okay. So why not?
It was still good. It was just not on a level with the rest of the meal.
Okay.
And my poke bowl was pretty good, too.
Say that slower.
Poke.
What is poke?
Marinated raw fish served over sushi rice with vegetables.
Sorry, you'd hate it. Sorry, I asked.
Yeah, you'd hate it.
There are times when I'm glad to have a seafood allergy. Just saying.
Now, that is something you would have found challenging.
Oh?
A lot of the restaurants we went to had chicken and beef on the menu, so it's not like it would have been impossible for you with a seafood allergy, but it was more expensive.
Okay.
And one thing that was big in Hawaii that I regret trying is mojo loco. I think loco moco. One of those two. But it's ground beef and a sauce over rice, basically. And I really regret not trying that while we were there.
Okay. Sounds interesting. What do you think the number, like, if somebody asked, what is the first dish that I should try when I go to Hawaii that you can't get in the contiguous 48, what would that be?
I would go with sushi. I would suggest sushi.
Okay. Sushi it should be, huh?
Just because you're in the ocean and the fish is like right there, so there's no need for it to be shipped. So you get all of the flavor.
Okay. And we've got some comments coming on here. Valerie says she likes asparagus wrapped in bacon. Of course, bacon makes all things better. Busy lady's hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry too.
Ariana says she tried the purple potato salad. And Iron Firehorse, Irene is saying bacon wrapped scallops with asparagus. She would love that right now.
That does sound good.
Busy lady wants a Hawaiian pizza.
Go for it, Busy.
And Iron Firehorse says, yep, purple potato salad is a good. Okay, Lop. And Ariana loves scallops. Go ahead.
We did have pizza our first night in Hawaii.
Really?
It was too late. It was too late to get to the grocery store, and there was not a whole lot of delivery options available, so we got pizza.
So did you order Hawaiian pizza?
No, we stuck with a plain cheese.
Oh. That's probably a real safe choice. So I have to ask, was it like Domino's, Papa John's, one of those national brands?
No, it was a mom and pop joint.
Good for you.
I would not recommend the pizza in Hawaii.
Really?
Really?
Well, I'm glad you tried a mom and pop. You should, because you should always support local businesses when you can. That's my mantra.
Sure.
All right. So you brought me this.
Yes.
You also brought me chocolate, but I can't show that. It's gone. It was good, by the way. Just saying. But you brought me this. And it says that this is her prayer in 1893. The Hawaiian monarchy was overthrown in the reign of Queen. Say that for me.
Liliuokalani.
Thank you. Was ended. The Republic of Hawaii was established in 1894, and in 1895, after an attempt was made to restore the monarchy, the Queen was arrested for misprision of treason or knowledge of treason and imprisoned in the Iolani Palace. The prayer, familiarly known as the Queen's Prayer, was written on March 22, 1895, only 2 months after her arrest. And it's set to music. And it says the music speaks of her sorrow, her forgiveness, and faith. And it is inscribed by Lily Lukanani, lovingly dedicated to her niece, Victoria, Kaiulani. And it says, as a relief from anguish of imprisonment, she occupied her time practicing on her auto harp and guitar, which is really cool. Composing new music and transcribed old songs by drawing staff lines on blank paper, so she couldn't even get staff music. Where did you find out about this lady?
She's super famous. Like I knew about her before I went to Hawaii.
Okay, but where did you pick this up? Where did you find out more information about her?
I got that in the palace.
Okay.
We toured the Iolani Palace where Queen Liliuokalani was imprisoned, and it was between that and the information about her in the Bishop Museum. I have complete respect for her. She was overthrown in a coup by basically business leaders in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And even though she might have been able to take the throne back, rather than risk the lives of her people, she basically abdicated.
Okay. So tell me about the palace and the Bishop's Museum. Like, what was it like to visit a palace? Like, I would love to see a palace. So what was it like to visit this one? Was it cool?
It was neat. What was astonishing to me was how very high-tech it was for the time.
Really? So what made it high-tech?
Running water.
Okay.
And the first telephone in the islands. Well,
The
okay.
first
Maybe the
telephone.
second telephone.
That makes sense to me because of the communications that would have been needed.
But yeah, working showers, and you don't think of that in like the 1850s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So working showers and the communications, the telephone.
And electric lighting.
Okay. Wow. That would have been kind of advanced for its time. What were the rest of the furnishings like? Were they like super plush, basic?
They not super ornate, but you could tell they were nice. Luxurious without being ostentatious, most of the furnishings.
Okay.
There were some that were just over the top, but mostly.
What does that mean, ostentatious to you? What kind of furniture are we talking about here?
They had what they called the gold room, which was also the music room apparently. But all of the furniture and everything in there was either gold colored or had gold on it, or gold paint, something like that, and it just looked like we were looking at a gold necklace, 1,000 times bigger. Very, very gold, lots of gold. But the rest of the palace was not like that. It was definitely luxurious and definitely beautiful, but not eye-blinding, sparkly.
Okay. That's interesting because you just think of royalty as having whatever they want, however they want it, when they want it, and kind of being a little spoiled. And it doesn't sound like this lady was.
Her heart was definitely for all about her people. And God, she was Episcopalian, I think, at that point.
Oh, neat. And obviously, colonialism would have brought Christianity to them,
Mm-hmm.
to the Hawaiian folks.
Yes, Episcopalian missionaries. If that was a couple centuries before Queen Muliakalani, if I remember right. But the Queen also founded the Queen's Hospital, which was one of the biggest and best hospitals in Hawaii, and also an orphanage. And both of those are still in place today.
Okay. So it sounds like she really cared about her people.
She really did.
And that's what you want. Okay. And I want to share something about electricity. According to this, and another thing I just looked at, um, it says, once upon a time in a land not far away, the birth of the Pearl Street Station was the beginning of what we would eventually come to recognize as the modern electrical grid, 1882, serving 85 customers, producing electricity to 400 lamps. And then this up here says 1882 as far as the history of electricity in the U.S., and that happened in Lower Manhattan. So she was pretty advanced.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to be so advanced.
It was a neat place.
So,
Actually, the
Iron Fire Horse. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Iron Fire Horse wants to look up the palace. Where is it?
Oahu.
Oahu. Okay. Oh, Busy Lady says her pizza's on the way. So yeah. And it could be Iron Fire Horse. It could be. So, yeah, that's really interesting. So how did her people respond? Because I'm sure that was part of the message that you got visiting the palace and so
She
forth.
is still beloved.
Still beloved. That is so cool.
More than one person referred to her as our queen.
One or more people on the tours, or just people in general?
The tour guide in the Iolani Palace referred to her as our queen. Several other, not just in the palace, but across Maui and Oahu, several other people did as well.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So, what was the Bishop Museum like? And how did it get, was it named for, like, did they have bishops in Hawaii? Was this some kind of religious person?
They did have bishops. That's not how it was named.
Bishops in their governmental hierarchy? Or
Ecclesiastical.
ecclesiastical. So it was with the church.
Right. Because
Okay.
they're Episcopalian, so they have bishops. But a relative of the Queen's, who actually going back a couple generations, I think. I don't know. I'm a little fuzzy, so I'll have to check how all this shaped out. But a relative of the Queen's actually founded the Bishop Museum
Okay.
because as a way to preserve Hawaiian heritage.
Okay.
Because even back then, they saw that there was a need for that.
And unfortunately, that has occurred, where the heritage is lost.
There were even some items in the museum that there was a sign saying what it is, and a sign saying the memory of this item's function has been lost.
Okay. That's sad, and tragic. But unfortunately, it does happen. I mean, that is something that, like, even the Native Americans um, have to deal with and fight against. Um, I've seen that so many times, and it's not just the Native Americans, but it's something even in Canada, the First Nations, and the Native Americans who are in Alaska. It's that struggle to retain identity. I'm going to bring Stellar back on. Or no? You want to be back off?
Either way.
Okay.
Sorry, I was putting my phone against my drink so I could be on the stream. So, whoops.
Okay. I just took you off for a minute while you were coughing.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
So, okay. And I want you to know, Stellar, I got this lei just for you, and I think it was like the last one Dollar Tree had. So if you're looking for leis, anybody, Dollar Tree for the next short period of time might have them.
Maybe, if you're lucky.
And Furiana says she hasn't been to a museum in a long time. Okay. I get that. So how are the museums? Fortunately, we have a lot of places in the U.S. mainland that are going more donation only. So did you have that, or were they expensive?
Not expensive, but we did definitely have to buy tickets. And like for Pearl Harbor, the tickets were free, but you still had to make a reservation.
Of course, Pearl Harbor's part of the National Park Service.
Right.
Okay. So now, when you got to Pearl Harbor? Just kind of revisit that for a minute. Did Pearl Harbor have its own transportation? Or was it all walking? How did they handle that? Because a lot of places, like the Kitty Hawk Memorial for the Wright brothers, they've got a little shuttle going around right now. And also, Oak Ridge, Tennessee has a shuttle service, Glacier National Park, Grand Canyon. how are they handling the hordes of people, so to speak?
It was okay. You walk in, you do the obligatory bag check, and then it's this open space you can just walk around.
Okay.
You do need to catch a shuttle to go to the Arizona because that's offshore, so you need a boat.
Okay.
And you do, but it's not like super firmly timed. Like the shuttle leaves at 11 and 1. It's like an every 10-minute kind of deal. So you can stay as long as you need to, taking pictures or whatever.
Interesting.
Other than that, the only other shuttle was the one to Fort Hood that we didn't take.
Interesting. Because
all.
Go ahead.
It was all. There were like 2 museums and a little cafe thing all in the same complex.
Nice.
And the obligatory gift shops.
Oh, the gift shops. Sometimes the national parks have the best gift shops as far as, quality and price. They're usually not as like tacky tourist, but I have to ask, Hawaii being such a tourist destination, did they have a lot of like your tacky tourist shops, so to speak?
Oh, of course.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah, tourist shops everywhere. One which we drove past on the way, we passed it several times on the way to the resort. One had their hours posted as opening at 10-ish and closing at 5-ish.
10-ish and 5-ish. Oh my. So I've heard of places being on like island time, which nothing starts at the time it's advertised. Am I hearing shades of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was definitely a relaxed approach to time.
Okay. So time is kind of like speed limits is just this general suggestion.
Pretty much. I mean, there's
Okay, Irene, thank you for coming. I appreciate it, and it was great to see you. So thanks. Iron's got to go.
Bye, Iron. Thanks for stopping in.
So thank you very much, Irene. Okay, so time is a general suggestion.
Pretty much.
Okay. And let me see here. It's around, I've got 8:28, so we're just going to be on a couple more minutes. I want to make sure that I stream those shout outs again before I go. So I'm going to do that. And so what do you think about, like, would you suggest that somebody go to the same areas you did, or were they highly tourist? Because I know with you, you prefer getting off of the staunch tourist track.
I would recommend Maui.
You would?
Yeah, just skip Oahu unless you want to see Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
But I would really recommend Maui.
Okay, Maui. So why would you recommend Maui over Oahu?
The beaches are nice. It's a little it's less touristy, more natural. Everything is better. The beaches are prettier.
Okay. All right. One more question. Did you have all like the burger joints like we have here on the mainland, like McDonald's, Burger King, etc.? Or was it mostly all local businesses? Because I really like supporting local businesses, but some people are nervous about it.
A lot of local businesses, but the big ones, but particularly the West Coast big ones. Like we had Jack in the Box and McDonald's. I don't recall seeing an Olive Garden. Don't recall seeing any of that. type of restaurant.
Okay. So it really sounds like it's more specific to Hawaii.
Yes.
Which that would speak to me. I think that really sounds cool.
I
really
it.
do. So, all right. So I've got some trivia questions, and we're just going to see who gets these first. And that's going to be, I hope you don't need it too busy. Okay. And I'm just pulling up a website for this. So, what is the capital of Hawaii? What's the capital of Hawaii? Stellar, do you know?
I do know.
Okay. All right. All right, spill it.
It is Honolulu.
Honolulu. That's what this website says is correct.
It used to be Lahaina, but it moved.
Okay. What is the island with the largest population?
Probably Oahu.
It is. It is Oahu. Something though that I would like to say for you to say more about. Just a minute. Fariana nailed it with Honolulu, and Busy did too. So yay! Tell me about the islands. How do you get between island to island, or do people island hop?
Well, we took a plane.
Okay, so you flew.
We flew. The flight between the two islands was super cheap. There used to be a ferry, I think, but there isn't anymore, at least between Maui and Oahu. I don't know about other islands, but we had to fly.
Okay. You went tweet.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell us about Hawaii?
Go if you get a chance.
Go if you get a chance. Okay. Watch your ticket prices.
Yes.
And don't wreck the rental car.
Yeah, avoid that. Yeah, definitely avoid that.
So everybody careful in the parking garage. All right. And I'm just letting the shout outs run because I want everybody to see them for your channels. Oh, Busy Lady is asking how long is the flight? I understand, Candy.
From Dallas to Maui, it was 8 hours. And from Cincy to Dallas, I think it was 3.
Okay.
And the flight from Maui to Oahu was like 30 minutes.
So, all totaled?
About,
because you don't want to trust my math.
12 hours to get to Hawaii.
Okay.
We spent a week in Maui and then took a 30-minute flight to Oahu and spent a week there and then flew out of Honolulu.
So, okay. Did you have any layovers?
Yes. We had a layover in Dallas and a layover. Actually, it might have been the only layover.
Did you include that in your flight time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that sounds pretty good. So, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for filling us in about Hawaii.
No problem.
Okay. And I've got a little bit of happy mail here. It was my birthday this past week, so I got among the things that Stellar that you did and the gift you ordered and the cake that Dad bought, and we got to go up to Roan Mountain for my birthday weekend. So it was like, yay. That was actually celebrated on the 4th instead of the 8th, but that's okay. Anyhow, I got this card.
That's
I thought it was really pretty with the flowers and the butterflies. And it says, hope you have a wonderful birthday. We love you. Ocean rays and summer days. Love, John and Linda. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Ocean rays and summer days just goes with what Allie went through. So I'm kind of jealous. I'll just be honest. Okay. And this one was from Allie's friend. She ordered a piece of stained glass for me. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And her friend says, "Happy birthday. Your wonderful daughter," and I agree with that, "ordered this from me months ago. I'm sorry it was sent so late. That's totally my fault, not hers. Many happy returns, Anna Lee." So,
she's so sweet.
She is. I said Anna Lee. I meant to say Annalise. So don't let her be mad at me. But kitty cat people, you'll like this. It's so cute.
It is cute.
And the present that you sent, because Stellar hasn't seen this yet.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. Well, I have an idea.
You know what you ordered, but you haven't seen it. And it's stained glass. And it came so well packaged.
Oh, good.
And she recycled and used plastic bags. So I'm going to turn these into, I'm saving plastic bags right now. I want to turn them into a mat for the homeless. So anyway. So just to show Stellar and everybody what this is, it's a piece of stained glass that her friend creates. And I'm going to hold it up very carefully.
It did turn out real well.
Yeah. Now, the colors aren't showing up so great. So I apologize to her and you for that. So the colors are supposed to be, this is actually a really pretty, like a forest green. And this is more of a baby pink. So instead of purple, all of this is baby pink. And then the stem right here is more of a tan, golden tan color. So, yeah.
She said it was fun to make.
Oh, I appreciate you having her do it, and it's gorgeous. So now comes the hard part. I have to figure out where to put it so I can see it and not break it. So those two things are sometimes mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for this, and thank you for sharing about your trip. And I look forward to the photos you're going to put over in the Facebook group. So thank you. Does anybody else have more questions for her? If so, this is a good time to ask. And frugal works, yes. Yeah, it can be. We just got to keep ignoring the drama part. Kitchen window. We don't really have a great kitchen window. Like there's no, it just, I usually just keep the blinds closed. So maybe in the room that we use as a guest room sometimes. So I don't know. I'll think about it. Well,
I'm sure
you can help me figure it out. So anyway, thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you, Stellar, for sharing. And y'all have a fabulous week. Oh, that's an idea. Put in one of the windows of the camper that we travel in. That might be a good idea.
That might.
I don't have anything in the windows yet, so that might work. So, all right, you all, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out and just being bodacious. Just remember to always be bodacious, which means you're not going to let life get in the way of living, because that's just kind of boring and it's not much fun. So we've all got certain parameters that we have to work through, but just don't let them stop us. So thank you all. I will see you on Saturday. I got a couple of videos coming out this week, and make sure you check out the last video too, because I gave some shout outs and stuff in that, and it was kind of fun. So anyway, thank you all, and I will see you Saturday. And thank you, Stellar, for coming out. Okay,
No problem.
love you all. Take care. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.